Good evening. Welcome to the District of Sechelt regular council meeting of Wednesday, September 1st. It is 7 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that we are coming to you from the territory of the Sechelt Nation. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any declarations of conflict for any of the items? Seeing nothing, I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And I'll look for a motion as well to receive all the reports and the correspondence. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. So first item on our agenda is a delegation. We have Ed Hill with us from the Gibson's Paddle Club. Ed?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. While I'm speaking, there will be a slideshow just to refer to what I'm talking about going on in the background. I'm a member of the Gibson's Paddle Club, one of the founding members. We started in 1999, and we've been here in Gibson's growing ever since. A lot of the statistics I'm going to give you are before COVID, as you can appreciate. But we're around 120, 25 members at any given time. And we range in age, say from mid to late 20s to up into the 80s. Our average age is 65 years of age for our club. Right now, we'd love to see it come down, but we're very proud of the fact that we're a whole bunch of senior citizens keeping healthy and active. And you in Sechelt, whether you know it or not, have an arm of the Gibson's Paddle Club that's been there since 2002. And you have two 6-seat canoes, 6 what we call OC6s. You've got a 4-seater and you've got a 2-seat outrigger canoe. And right now, about 25 members represented in your area. Our sport is really something that's a feather in the cap of a community. It's a sport that can help be a branding for a community. We're recognized in Gibson's as the ocean-going canoe capital of Canada, as deemed by the Mayor Gibson's some years ago, and with good reason, because 12 months of the year we're out there. We even have a club called the 100 Club, and a number of us are awarded every year for paddling over 100 days a year. 12 months a year, we're out there. And that's when you think that some of us are in our 70s and 80s, we think that's pretty commendable, and it certainly makes for a healthy community. Our community sport is just a little bit different than the other community sports. When you think of community supported sports in terms of facilities, when you think of tennis, baseball, soccer, basketball, pickleball, hockey, and even recreational parks, the line item in your budget to take care of these places is extensive. Our community sport that invites anybody and everybody in the community takes a small footprint of land, and our gymnasium takes no upkeep. It flushes itself twice daily at no cost. And when we get out there and paddle, the community sees us. Everybody sees us. They hear us. They participate from the shore. We have people as we paddle by down here who ring their bell outside on their deck when they see us go by. This is a community participation sport. And a lot of those people come out and even try it once just to see what it's like, see what all the fuss is about. I'm going to tell you about our footprint, where we live, and how we got there. Way back in 1999, we had a canoe race here that we put on. And when that race was over, we decided to keep a canoe. And so we were buying that canoe from Clipper Canoe, but where to keep it? Well, the Gibsons Marina said, you can use the back end of our parking lot. And you've seen a shot of our footprint there. And for years, we used that and grew in terms of canoes. And little did we know that we were on city land. And so valuable is the recreational value of our sport to our community that only last year, the town of Gibsons gave us that footprint of land in perpetuity. That's ours with access to the water. And I think part of the point in me telling you that is, if somebody had said to us, let's go ask the town if they've got some property for us that they could help us with and we could have access to, I think everybody would have said the town's got no property for us. There's nothing available. There's nothing there. Luckily, we found it and they found us. And so I suppose it's with that we come to you. Our club has existed kind of hand to mouth in your area up until now. And when we get to questions and answers, I can give you some stats on where we've been and how we've existed. Our footprint at this end is about 400 square meters, 15 by 27 meters to hold a large number of canoes. We have a shed there to store our gear in and the canoes, and down into the water we go. If we were to find something at your end, it would be more like half that size, and maybe not even that, to allow for that small number of canoes. And so we come to you today to say that we are kind of in limbo right now about where to keep our canoes. And we're asking the city, the district of Sechelt, I suppose, do you have anything for us with access to the water where we could store a couple of canoes and let your community have 100 paddlers up there because it's easy to access the water? That's our pitch. And I'm certainly available to answer any questions you may have. And there you go.
Thank you, Ed. Councillor, any questions? Councillor Toth.
Thank you. When I was reading this as part of the agenda package, the very first thing that popped out to me was seeing if you could partner with Shora, since they do have a dock and some waterfront space on West Porpoise Bay. So I'm just wondering if you'd had a chance to reach out to them or talk to them about a partnership.
Yeah, that's the that's the marina on the north side of the inlet, and where you drive down and around to it. We have a bit of history there in that we did store our Voyager canoe there for a time. But even that was parking prohibitive. What they have there, really, they're squeezed into when it comes to parking from what we saw and experienced there. When we get going as a group, we might have a dozen or 15 people or more coming to paddle, and the parking was a real problem. And the canoes don't get stored tied up to the dock. They get stored on land, and we looked at it with them, and there was no room to store.
Okay. Other councillors, questions? Councillor,
just before we go on,
Sorry.
I can tell you that we were at Mackenzie's Marina from 2002 to 2016, but now machinery and everything there and that private business has kind of squeezed us out. And presently we're at Harbor Air on a year-to-year basis, kind of just squeezed in with our canoes with not really good access.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Councillor McLean.
This is one for staff. I recognize that we don't have our director of engineering, but I see we have an acting director. So perhaps she can handle it. A while ago, we talked about creating a hand launching boat ramp. So I think I'm just speaking off the top of my head, I think we were looking at like Kentucky Road. Could we get a ramp in there? Does anyone know what happened with that, what the progress is on that? And because I could see these quite related, because we do also need a place to launch them. Yeah, I don't believe you can just launch on the regular muddy beach of Porpoise Bay.
No.
Hey, Councillor McLean, I'm not aware of the project, but I can look into it and find out where that was at.
Okay,
And
thank you.
With that point, were you to find something like that, our facility, our patch of land, once it's established, you never have to look at it again, in that we upkeep our own lot. We clean it annually or twice annually. We self-insure ourselves. It's like all those other sports I spoke of that you have to maintain. With us, you turn your head and walk away. We take care of it.
Mhm. So I guess what I'm hearing is that generally it sounds like there would be support for this. We just don't know necessarily where it could take place. So probably what we could do is refer this to staff to have them identify, see if there are any locations potentially that could be used for this, and come back to us.
Good. And if that staff has any questions about size or approximate dimension, whatever, they can call me and I'd be glad to physically meet with them and look at a site and help them with it.
Okay. Councillor McLean?
And just to be clear, that is on the inside on Porpoise Bay. You're not looking for anything on the outside.
What I gave you in terms of numbers of times on the water and people involved, it's our protected waters at Gibson's that allows us to do that. If you were to go up to the seashell end and go to the outside, we could conceivably cut our time on the water by 2/3 conceivably, because in the winter you're just not going to get out there. So ideally, it's the inside waters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lamb?
Yeah,
Councillor
one of the
Lamb?
things that
Yeah,
has
go
been
ahead.
raised here is,
Sorry, you're breaking up and you're freezing on us. Oh, I think we may have lost
one
him.
of the concerns has the
Councillor Lamb, we can't hear you.
yeah, because I'm not talking.
Okay, okay, try again.
Okay, just one of the concerns we have here is about parking. And so, yes, we need a spot, but we need, possibly room for 15 to 20 cars.
Mhm.
Probably, I would imagine, it sounds like Mr. Hill here, it looks like even if it's just one canoe out, there might be five vehicle minimum.
Yeah, I can say that generally it's 1 or 2 canoes, and that could involve 8 or 10 cars. If you had an extensive group, of course, there could be more, but it's generally speaking from 6 to 10 cars.
Okay, Councillor Lamb? Anything
Yeah,
further?
no, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay.
No.
So
Thank
I'd look to staff. Do you want us to make a recommendation that this be referred to staff to investigate potential sites?
Yes, please, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right. Well, I can make that recommendation that this report be referred to staff to investigate potential sites for the Gibson's Paddle Club canoes and access to waters of Porpoise Bay, and bring information back to council. And that's seconded. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time with
and
us.
the invitation's there to any and all of you to come on out and try it once, and maybe you'll really be sold on it. Thanks a
All
lot.
right, thank you. So moving on, item 5.1, this is the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 4th. Are there any errors or omissions in these minutes? Thank you. I'd look for a motion to adopt. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7.1. This is receipt of the Advisory Planning Commission meeting minutes of August 3rd, 2021. Look for a motion to receive. I think we've already done that, right? Received them, but okay. Moved, seconded, all in favor again. Thank you. First reading. Bylaws. This is item 8.1A. This is for Everbright Ventures Limited rezoning application, residential R3 to R1, zoning amendment bylaw number 25-314, 2021, 5556 and 5558 Nickerson Road. And Mr. Hall, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't have a presentation, but I'll just quickly summarize. It's a fairly straightforward rezoning application. The existing property is zoned R3. The applicant is seeking to rezone to R1 to allow for the lower minimum parcel size when on sewer to get down to the 500 square meter lot size. And this would facilitate the proposed subdivision of 12 lots. And a fairly straightforward layout. As you'd see attached to your package, it's something we've been in touch with them a little bit on back and forth. And these lots, there's about 4 or 5 lots on this side of Nickerson that have some future subdivision potential. So some of the aspects are looking at bringing in a road that could swing around to connect up some of these other lots that would allow for more subdivision over time through the other owners. But otherwise, this is fairly straightforward. There'd be development permit requirements as part of the subdivision application. And we've been talking with the applicant about the community amenity contributions and looking at similar to other rezoning applications. You'll recall from earlier in the year, Westcor, single family rezoning application, similar calculation there for possible community amenity contributions. And otherwise, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor McLean.
Yeah, just a couple on the road. Would this be a strata road? And is there any provisions for a turnaround, either a hammerhead or a roundabout within the road?
At this time, they're not proposing a strata subdivision, so it would be a public road. And the intent at the moment, based on the conceptual layout that we've discussed with them previously, would be bringing the road in, and it would swing up north, I believe, and continue on potentially. Once the adjacent properties subdivide, this road would continue, and it may swing around back to Nickerson. So at the moment, it wouldn't be a dead end road. It would be intended to continue on to access further properties. So I suppose at the end of the road, it would function as a hammerhead turnaround, but ultimately continue on as other properties are developed.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
Yes, Councilor McLean got most of my stuff, but so if this is going to be developed as a road, I was wondering what the idea was when you come around the corner. But normally when you build a road like this, it would be half a road width, because you would hope for the development on the bottom side to be to pick up the other half. So is that what your thoughts are? Is this just half a road width, or is this a full road width for the right of way?
I think at this time it would be just a half road, with the intent that the other half of the road could be developed on the southern property, and then you'd have the full right of way. But basically a half road coming in to access these lots, and then the other half on the neighboring property, if in the future they subdivide.
Any follow-up, Councillor Lamb?
Yeah, so then this developer here would put the sewer and the water and all the infrastructure in along this road, and then if there was a development to the south of it that picked up, then they would be able to connect into that infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I just want to throw out an idea. It deals with the forming character of this. I took a cruise around the city looking at small lot subdivisions. And one thing I noticed that seemed to make a really big difference in how it feels is the variety of architecture. So just conceptually, what tools do we have in our toolbox to enable a variety of architecture, given that this would be under the small lot DPA area?
Yeah, I mean, the guidelines of development from an Area 8 cover a range of issues. They deal with small lot subdivision, they deal with site planning and design, they deal with some aspects of form and character. So when we're dealing with a subdivision application, there's an opportunity to get at some of those pieces. There are guidelines around setbacks, building heights, the way sort of the second story is maybe a lesser proportion of the first story, so it's not just a two-story block. So there's parameters around that. Part of it too around the housing form is to ensure that the houses that go in aren't, or the street front isn't dominated by garages. That's one of the major guidelines, is to try to get away from having the garage the first thing you see. So the garage is meant to be set back further than the house so that the entrance to the home is made more prominent. And that's one of the aspects of this DP area, in addition to various other setback provisions to get at sort of how to develop on a smaller lot, a smaller scale house, keeping things in proportion. So you're not just building as large a house as you would expect to build on a larger lot. It's really kind of scaling things down more appropriately.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question of follow-up to Councillor Lamb. If this development here is putting in the sewer, and another property beside would then connect, if they develop and subdivide, would this developer be entitled to latecomers? And is that something we would put in place or not?
That's a good question. I mean, in order to do their development, they have to bring in the sewer anyway. It's necessary for them to service their lots. Right. So that the issue of latecomers, it would only be triggered if there may be a small window around the capacity issue in terms of whatever there's always a minimum requirement for somebody extending the sewer line. There's a bare minimum in our bylaw. And if they're putting in something larger than that, then maybe that triggers the excess or extended requirements where a latecomers would be an opportunity. So we'd have to look at this. It could be a possibility, but it may just be that they're having to bring in the minimum anyway. And the minimum allows for those other lots to connect, so they wouldn't be eligible, but that's something to be determined at the time of subdivision.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, seeing no further questions, there are some proposed recommendations on page 19. Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'll move recommendation 2 that council give first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 25-314-2021 Everbright. And recommendation 3 that staff refer the application to relevant stakeholders, agencies, and the Advisory Planning Commission for comment. And recommendation 4 that staff negotiate a voluntary community amenity contribution in accordance with the policies contained within the OCP.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for those recommendations? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item, thank you. Item 8.1B on page 27. This is District of Sechelt bylaw number 25-314, 2021 Everbright, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt zoning bylaw number 25, 1987. I'd look for someone to move first reading. Moved. Seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Moving on to item 8.2A. Yes, rezoning application for 5547 Trail Avenue City State, zoning amendment bylaw number 25-308, 2020. Mr. Kobowitz, over to you.
Thank you. Very briefly speak to this file. It's ready for adoption. the applicants have entered into a development agreement to secure the improvements to the lane. And yeah, this zoning bylaw is ready for adoption, and it's in reference to a small lot subdivision at 5547 Trail Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I'm just looking to see if we know that they're going to get the utilities extended up the laneway before we put that top layer of asphalt down on Trail Avenue.
Yes, that's certainly the goal, and the applicants are working with their engineers and contractors to, at this point, the only service connection that would need to be extended would be the storm line that's currently on trail. And should timing issues prevent that from happening, there are alternative stormwater solutions that can be considered as well that wouldn't impact the new lift on Trail Avenue.
All right, seeing no further questions, there is a recommendation on page 29. What would you like to do? Councillor Toth.
I will move recommendation 2 that council adopt zoning amendment bylaw 25-308 2020 city state.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 8.2b, District of Sechelt bylaw number 25-308 2020 city state, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt zoning bylaw number 25-1987. And I look for someone to move adoption. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Seeing no new business, we'll move on to item 10.1. This is the Engineering and Operations Division Capital Project Updates, September 1st, 2021. Council, any questions? Hello, Ms. Lee.
Evening.
Councillor Lamb, you had some questions.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't get any easier running this thing out here in Ontario, closer to the big guns. But yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, so where has TELUS, have they finished up their work yet, or where are we at with them?
They have, yeah. So TELUS just, I believe, a couple of days ago finished the undergrounding. So that portion is complete.
Okay, and then, and is ISL, are they still involved in this project, or have we cut them loose?
No, they are. Yeah, they're still the engineer. That's correct.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. And then, and so the, like before I left, they were working on the manholes. So I think council, you know, I can't remember how many manholes we were going to do on Trail Avenue, but so how many manholes were we going to do on Trail Avenue?
We were going to do 3.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We were going to do 3 manholes on Trail Avenue during the construction. There was a survey error in the middle manhole, but it became evident that we could actually eliminate that manhole entirely. So we installed 2 of the manholes and saved 1 for the future construction where we need it on, I believe, on Mermaid Street. So 2 of the manholes went in and 1 was eliminated.
So then we had budgeted like $180,000 or $160,000 or something to do those 3 manholes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, somewhere in the neighborhood of, I believe, 170,000, close to that.
And so then by eliminating that manhole, then were we able to save money to put that aside?
We were able to save the manhole itself, so the manhole was quite valuable. I'm not sure the exact dollar value of the materials, so we'll be able to save that cost for the next set of manhole replacements.
But we saved the manhole.
The new manhole.
The new manhole that we're going to
correct. That's right.
Okay, but then how much did it cost us did we dig up the 3rd manhole and find out that there was something wrong with it? And
we needed to dig it up anyway, so it was completely removed because it had failed. So the inlet and outlet was just joined with a pipe because there was no drop. It was a continuous 2% fall, so it was able to just be coupled and joined, and the manhole was eliminated entirely. So the work had to be done either way to remove the failed manhole. So there's no loss in work.
So you mentioned right off the bat that the surveyor was out. So is that another ISL problem?
No, I believe that was an internal survey. So there was an error in the survey. I don't believe it involved ISL.
So we wouldn't have surveyed that hole ourselves, and that would have been surveyed by Peter Gordon or straight.
I believe that, oh, I'm sorry. I believe that we did survey that ourselves for this component of the project.
Oh. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So, okay. And so, yeah, okay. So I'm just wondering, we don't have a surveyor on staff, but somebody decided we should survey the hole.
So that's a question I think you probably want to take offline, Councillor Lamb, if you don't mind.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll take that offline. I know we have some other meetings, so that's good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's good. So I guess the only other question is, so we're basically, we're back in production again, eh? We're full speed ahead we're full speed ahead. There's nothing holding us up now to get Trail Avenue paved over, get it finished.
Yeah, I believe it's scheduled. Let me just check. The top lift is expected this month, so it's on track to be completed by the end of September.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Toth, did I see you put your hand up?
Did. It's just faster to raise my hand than look for the button because I think it moved in this last update. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see things underway again on Trail Avenue. I know it was closed today or detours today, and I saw an electrical contractor out there last week putting up street lights and wiring them up. So that's pretty exciting. The question I've got is around the airport runway improvements. It's mentioned here that our consultant is currently working on the lighting tender. I'm just wondering if we have a timetable for the tender and then sort of when we're looking to have the lighting completed on that project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Toth. I don't have the dates with me right now, but I can get back to you with the answer.
Thank you. Any other questions, Council? Okay, I just want to make a comment about the Wharf Avenue sidewalk improvements. It's good, I think, that we've been working with MOTI on this, because MOTI has indicated that at some point, they're saying about 5 years in the future, they're looking at a dual turn lane. I've been watching the traffic on the highway coming to that intersection, and it is always backed up now, always. Now, I don't know if that's going to slack off, once we, get maybe through mid-September or end of September, maybe, but I'm thinking that 5 years out is not realistic, and I think that's going to have to probably come sooner than that. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the next while. So I'm glad that they've been involved in this, because then what we're doing is going to reflect what they need to have in place when they look at doing that implementation. So to comment on that one. Anything else on any of the other items on here? Councillor Lamb, anything for you?
Oh, you might see the smoke coming out of my ears, because I think I probably have some questions that I can't really ask. So I'll sit on it for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I want to say thank you to the engineering department for doing this. I know that this provides information to us, but through us and through these meetings provides information to the community. As a community, these are questions the community is asking as well. So thank you for putting the time in to put these reports together. Thank you. All right, moving on. Reports from councillors. We'll start with Councillor Toth, Councillor McLean, Councillor Kuster, and then Councillor Lamb. Councillor Toth, over to you.
I have nothing to report for business on behalf of the district of Sechelt for the last few weeks. Went up to Edwards Lake with the family yesterday and saw the water level dropping, well, has dropped up there, but yeah, nothing to report otherwise.
Thank you. Councillor McLean.
Nothing to report here.
Thank you. Councillor Kuster.
I just got back from a camping trip, so I have nothing to report as well.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
Nope, I think I'm good. Thank you. Yep. Have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just say that I was away on vacation too, and I know that our staff have been taking the opportunity in August here with no meetings to be able to, get away and get a break. I think the last year and a half has been really difficult for everybody, and so it's great to be able to have that break and come back and have fresh eyes again on the business of the municipality. So it's great to see council back. This is the first time we've been together, and I look forward to hopefully being able to get together in person at some point down the road. So SCRD report, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I did not get it put together in time for the agenda publication on Friday because we were in a board meeting on Friday. I have circulated it to council, and I know that it has been uploaded to the website earlier today. Happy to take any questions on it. One of the highlights, most of everything that's gone on in August has been reported in the paper. One thing that I did want to highlight was that staff identified 4 properties in Seashelt that weren't on meters but had very obvious leaks. And after investigating that and helping the homeowners determine where the leaks were and do the repairs and all that, it was determined that those 4 properties were losing 345,000 liters among the 4 of them every day. And so when we look at something like Trout Lake, the maximum that we can draw from Trout Lake is only 227,000 liters a day. So those 4 homes were, half again as much water as we could draw from Trout Lake. So I've been a big fan of metering all along, and I think this just further emphasizes the need for metering. And yeah, I've been asking staff what we can do to push up that timetable so that we don't have to go through any more periods of drought without at least getting a handle on the demand side. So the town of Gibsons is looking to be supplying the regional district with water. That might have started today. It might be starting, by the weekend, looking at about 1 million liters a day from them. And then we'll be sort of trading water back to them in the fall once our water supply is stabilized. Yeah, I put forward a motion to do a temporary moratorium on new connections to the regional water service. And it was defeated, but the board did agree to write a letter into the minister, Katrine Conroy. I've also been telling people on the side to email the minister and our MLA and to CC the board to let everybody know how it's personally affecting them with this water situation while we wait for Church Road. We are hoping to hear something substantial back in the next couple weeks, but we don't know what that's going to be yet. So it's just a waiting game until we hear back. But yeah, happy to take any questions.
Council, any questions for Councillor Toth? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about Church Road. I've seen several emails go to the minister for Flinrod, and the form response coming back has an interesting line about the town of Gibson's having an interest in the Church Road. Do you have any more information on that? My understanding was that they were separate aquifers.
That was the understanding when things started on this. It's been determined that it's all sort of the same aquifer. And of course, Gibson's does have additional water licenses in as well. So the province has to look at all of the licenses and the cumulative impacts and all of that. None of it is insurmountable, and Gibson's and the SCRD have been quite clear that these demands and draws are things that can be worked out in detail once we know that we can start with construction. I've seen an adaptive management plan referenced. That was news to me as a member of the board, But that too, staff were like, we've already sorted it out with them that this can be worked on after we get approval and start construction. So it bit of a red herring, some of the stuff that's come back in the emails. But certainly some of the things that have come back in the emails have even been news to people in Gibson's. So it's moving goalposts every time.
Any other questions for Councillor Toth? Thank you. We'll move on. Council correspondence. We already received the correspondence. I'm going to move to item 6 first in the correspondence, and then we can come back to some of the others. So this is a letter requesting a funding contribution for the Seashell Aquatic Center temporary fire protection. And the request is that I'm going to go over with you what happened at the regional district. So we are not moving forward immediately with the sprinkler system. In order to actually have the aquatic center open, the fire department has indicated that this temporary fire protection system would allow them to give occupancy. So that's the piece that we're moving forward with. Total cost of that is $154,000, I believe. The funding at the regional district, they're looking at using $26,000 from tax allocation, $64,000 from operating reserves, and $64,000 from COVID safe restart funds. What the request is that came out was that, and it came to the District of Seashell, the Town of Gibson's, and the Seashell Indian Government District, that $64,000 from operating reserves instead be a contribution from the 3 other governments, on a prorated basis kind of thing. So depending on population, etc. We would probably need to have our staff look at this to see how we do this, if we do this, and come back to us. But at first, any questions from any council members? Or Director of Financial Services, Mr. Douglas, did you want to say something?
Just that if if it was referred to staff, we would come back with a report as to how we would go about funding that.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
So how long is this temporary fire protection needed for? And how many people is it going to affect? Is the pool going to be operating, on a part-time basis? Are you going to let 10 people in a day or 20 people in a day for 6 months? I'm just kind of wondering, does it make any sense to have the pool open? Just leave it closed and deal with what has to be dealt with?
I think there's 2 pieces to that. The first piece is that the sprinkler system needs to be replaced, and the cost that came in was way higher because of the price of steel. It was way higher than what was anticipated. So the board chose not to move forward at this time until we can maybe do it in 2 phases or something to either bring the cost down or hope the price of steel comes down or whatever. So looking at what we can do there. We don't know the time frame on that. And in order to actually open the facility, we need to have something to give some indication if there's any kind of fire that starts up. This was a compromise with the fire department. So when you're talking about timeline, don't know what the timeline would be. If this doesn't go in, it stays closed. Councillor Toth?
Yeah, the discussion at the board level was, or the board table was around a 3-year time frame to do the sprinkler replacement. And I don't recall if it's do part of the building 1 year and part of the building the next, or wait until year 2 or what have you. But yeah, without doing something to enhance the fire protection system there, the pool will not be open, and the building will not be open, I should say, not just the pool. A big chunk of this cost is actually upgrading the fire alarm panel that's in the building, because the one that's in there cannot work with the linear heat detection system. So there is a portion of this cost that is upgrading the equipment that will be remaining permanently with the building.
And follow up, Councillor Lamb?
Just with the COVID numbers going up and all that, I mean, are we gonna, is the government going to allow the facility to open? Are we going to open the facility?
At this point, it looks like we are. And we don't know what that looks like a month or two from now.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
Councillor Kuster.
So if this is projects 3 years out, is this something that the regional district will be looking for like yearly, a contribution from us yearly, or is this a one-time cost?
This would be a one-time cost for this component. The sprinkler system will be funded through regular taxation.
Right, but if, for example, if we're not doing the for 3 years and the price of steel doesn't come down in 2 or 3 years, still, are they going to be looking for more money from us? That's essentially my question.
No, this is for this solution so that we don't have to put in the sprinkler system. And this will stay in place until the sprinkler system gets put in. Councillor Lamb.
You know, this is one of those crazy ones because, you know, here you're sitting on a multi-million-dollar facility, and if you don't have a fire sprinkler in there, you're not going to get insurance for it. And so, you know, there is no choice here. I mean, the reality, but it's the stupidity of the. Anyways, these are one of these ones that I pull my hair out. Honest and truly, off the beginning of the thing, I didn't want that facility built in Seashell. So to me, all this stuff to me is just all the things that I've felt in the past that were going to come up to be or coming to be. So it's just one of those things. I mean, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. So there is no option here, as far as I can see.
All right, Councillor Kuster, do you have a follow-up?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Toth?
Thank you. Yeah, the worst part, Councillor Lamb, is they still haven't identified what the cause of that internal corrosion of the sprinkler system was. They don't know if the system was never properly flushed when it was commissioned, or if there was something like they don't know what went wrong to cause this problem in the first place. This request for money is just a request. You know, if council chooses not to contribute COVID funds, there is sufficient reserves to cover it. The discussion was had because the board chose to reduce the reserve contribution for 2021 before we knew about the sprinkler issue in order to keep the tax increase for recreation down for this year. And so to pull that money out now, all from reserves, could have an impact on future tax increase or future reserve contributions. And the municipalities receive a lot more COVID safe restart grant money than the regional district did, which is why the suggestion was made to see about funding from the municipal partners. Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor McLean.
Yeah, so I appreciate the conversation regarding the merits of this project, but quite frankly, that's outside of our jurisdiction. It's an SCRD facility. What we're looking at is a financial decision, and whether the question is, should we spend our COVID funds on recreation and supporting this? And I believe we should. If the facility is closed, it's a detriment to our community, to Seashell residents. Yes, it's not our facility, it's the SCRD's facility. They should be paying for it. But like Councillor Toth mentioned, how the COVID funds were distributed was not fair. It was not set up for a regional district such as ours where recreation is within the regional district and not within the municipality. So I think this is an entirely reasonable request, and I'll be supporting a motion to refer it to staff to see how we can get it done.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, Councillor McLean, would you like to make a motion to refer this to staff to investigate ways to fulfill the request?
So moved.
Okay, seconded. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Thank you. All right, any other correspondence that you wanted to look at? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, the letter from John Talbot, I believe that's about number 3. I'm just getting it pulled up. So page 42 of our agenda. I wrote a brief response to this letter to the person who wrote it. And I mentioned 2 plans that we have here on the Sunshine Coast. We envision at the SRD and the Seashell Integrated Sustainability Community Sustainability Plan. The ICSP plan was one of the first things that this council did. And I think it's about time that we take a look at it, see how we're doing, see what we can do. So I really appreciate the suggestion for a citizens committee. I'm not quite ready for that yet. I'd like to see what we've done with that plan so far in the 2 or so years since it was adopted, and see what we've done, and then see how we can kind of follow some of those recommendations a bit better. Because it is a plan that we adopted, we should be following it, we should be making progress.
So how do you see that playing out?
So I'd like to start with a motion, and I may as well just throw it out there. I'll move that council requests that staff put together a report on an update progress from the ICSP plan.
Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded, okay. I'm going to speak out against that, not because I don't want that information, but I think we are looking at staff with a huge workload, and I don't know what kind of time would be required to put something like that together. Given that this group, I mean, this is a group of people. It's not, I mean, he's representing them in his letter, I believe. I'm wondering if they've already done that analysis, given that they're familiar with these reports. I don't know. I'd like to ask them that question. Anybody else? Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Yeah, I seconded the motion to get it on the floor, but I am likewise concerned about staffing, about staff resources. I hate to say priorities, because climate change really is the most important priority of all, but keeping the lights on right now, I think, is more critical. I would be interested in us reaching out to Mr. Talbot to see if they haven't had a look through our ICSP and sort of scored us or given us a report card on it. As they talk about citizen assembly or what have you. If that's something that we straight up could ask them or invite them to do, and to come back and be a delegation to tell us their opinions on how we're doing, and then see about directing it to staff or staff engagement on further follow-up on it.
Perhaps have him and whoever he's with attend one of our committee of the whole meetings where we could actually have a real conversation about this whole topic. Councillor Kuster.
Yeah, Alton or Councillor Toth just basically said what I was going to say. Our staff are so spread pretty thin right now. Of course, it's so important after seeing what's happened this summer and our province being on fire. But if Mr. Talbot has done some of that work, or he and his team or a group of people can do that, I think that would be a first approach before going to our staff.
Okay, Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I appreciate that Mr. Talbot's very knowledgeable. I assume he has good people behind him. But what this plan was is something that council adopted. If we are not ready to follow it up, we should not have a plan. We hear so often that people are upset with governments creating plans. We created a plan. We need to follow it. We need to put the resources to ensuring that we are implementing it. If not, why did we even bother? We spent a year of really good work putting that plan together. I don't know where we're at. It is our job to hold our municipality accountable to what we said we would do. And we said we would work on that plan. And to put it off on an external organization is, I don't think that's fair.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for all the comments. It's a very interesting discussion. And well, yes, I can confirm that all of our planning staff are very busy and many things on the go. I think I'd be willing to suggest to offer the time of our community planner to conduct a review of the plan, provide a scorecard of sorts of what's been accomplished thus far, what's in the work plan, the priorities for the next year of this term, and where we are, what we can do. So I think we can do that likely in next month without too much trouble. So I would like to suggest that we can offer that.
All right. Thank you. So we were trying to save you some work.
Noting she doesn't know I've said this, but hey.
Yeah. All right, so we have a recommendation on the floor that this be referred to staff and that they do the evaluation and come back to us with a report as to where we are. In better words.
I have the motion. Would you like me to read? Yeah,
sure.
I've got.
Sure, it's better than what I got.
The council requests staff to put together a report on the progress from the ICSP plan and report back to council.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Toth.
It's not pertinent to the, I'll speak after the vote. It's yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I do appreciate Councillor McLean bringing up the ICSP. Both he and I sat on that committee in various functions towards the end of it there. And I've just got it open here now and having a scroll through it. And one of the things I do recall as we sort of finalized it was that the ICSP was intended to be sort of reviewed annually, if I remember correctly. And given that the report is dated January 2019, well, we didn't review it last year, and that was pre-COVID, so there isn't really any excuse other than it falling off the side of somebody's desk. So yeah, knowing that we have the staff capacity, or at least delegated capacity, in order to have a review of the ICSP, I look forward to seeing what comes back. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to suggest that we reach out to Mr. Talbot and potentially, when this comes forward, make sure he's aware of that, and then have him come as a delegation to discuss these various different potential options to move things forward. And I don't think we can give a motion for that, but we can, make sure that happens. I'm sure it'll be on our reader. Any other items of correspondence that we'd like to discuss? All right, seeing none, are there any emergency items?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. You're gonna have to come up with some other words next time. Those are your 3 words in each meeting.
I'll try to find a late item for you.
Okay.
To be fair, I think he said something earlier, so he's up to
That's
6
right,
this
that's
meeting.
right. Okay. All right, I look for a motion to adjourn.